Good morning, everyone. Good morning to Fiji. Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And this is a good afternoon from, oh, sorry, good afternoon, Fiji.
Good afternoon.
This is a good morning from Korea and good evening to Kingston, Jamaica and Montreal. And I hope you all had a great sleep and nice morning. And I can't believe this is already halfway of this workshop, and I see your screen names, and there are, if you haven't changed your screen name, please change your screen name so I can recognize your name. And to be honest, I still have difficulties to pronounce your last name properly. I think I might need visit sometime to practice my pronunciation. So you might want to invite me for the correct pronunciation. As for today, I have a little announcement for everyone. And first, we are going to have 2 lectures. The first one is Managing Marine Bioresources by my colleague, Dr. Kyung-hwa Baek. She is the manager of the department and very respected researchers in MAVIC and also female. So she is going to give you a lot of information on management of marine bioinformation. Also, at the same time, I believe she can share her experience as a female leader. She is a leader in my institution, and also she can share her experience as a female scientist. So I think it'll be great time for all of you. And after that, we'll have, of course, we'll have tea break, and we'll have the Dr. Shonakshi Mishra's presentation. She's from International Seabed Authority, and her topic is gender. So this is a cross-sectoral issue going through all the lectures we have had. So in all together, I think you will have a good understanding how and what to write in your action plan. And after that, we have unfinished business, which is country report presentation. So after 2 lectures, we will continue the country report. And then I have to say, we really have to finish the country report by today. And also there's, we are going to have, I think I already mentioned in the chat box, we are going to accept the application for the breakout session. And so after, I mean, some of you already sent an email, but after all the lectures, I like to recommend you to send your email to us, like with first preference and second preference. The reason we ask you to send the email to us is after lectures is like you take all the lectures and decide which area is your first preference and second preference. Okay, that was the original intention. Okay, after saying that, I'd like to give my floor to Dr. Kyung-hwa Baek for her lecture.
Good afternoon, Fiji. I'm Kyung-hwa Baek in MAVIC. It's nice to meet you, even online. Today, I introduce about MAVIC. MAVIC is National Marine Resource Infrastructure in Korea. So I'd like to talk about our bioresource and our system, how we manage it. So first, what is the marine bioresource? Marine bioresource, such as living organisms, cell, gene, and related information So marine resources are the essential raw material for the advancement of biotechnology, health, and research, and development in the life science. Therefore, marine bioresource can be potential product include new medicine, drugs, ingredient, new food, and nutritional supplement, health and beauty supplement, bioplastic. You can make everything. I guess you already know about lots of marine bioproduct, especially the marine drug. Since in 1969, sponge-derived citrabine was approved by the FDA for its anti-cancer effect. It's still sell at Pfizer. In 2004, corn snail-derived ziconotide, that is peptide, it was approved for painkiller. I think you also heard about the Prialt. So that is the commercial name. Also, the tunicate-derived tetrabectidine was approved in 2015 for anti-cancer effect. Its commercial name is Yondelis. Until now, certain marine natural products have to approved as a new drug, while 18 marine-derived metabolites are currently in different phase of clinical trials. In addition, the numerous compounds isolated from marine resource demonstrate significant potential agent against COVID-19. We got lots of the pandemic situation. Inorganic polyphosphate naturally bounded in marine bacteria and sponge have been shown to prevent viral entry, initiate immune response, and downregulate human ACE2. Furthermore, several marine metabolite isolate from diverse sponge and algae, and it shows to inhibit main protease, a crucial protein required the viral life cycle. Also, the seaweed, macroalgae has lots of sulfated polysaccharide have also been shown to have potent antiviral effect due to their anionic properties and high molecular weight. So given that numerous sums and are invested in extracting organism and their gene from nature and elucidating the genetic and functional molecular elements of those living resource, it's essential for this biological resource not only to be preserved but also to be used. So the growing worldwide demanded for biological resource provide good reason for greatly increasing the number of quality of bioresource center. Currently, many countries consider bioresource to have potential value and are contemplating at the natural level how to collect and preserve them for a long time. So now the Bioresource Center is not optional. It's mandatory to academy and research and industry. So Mavic also established that requirement for the establishment of operation of BRC. We have to sample source and management. Yeah, we have to consider lots of things. So I will jump to management of Marine Resource Center. So I mentioned of briefly the last few minutes ago, BRC is essential part of the infrastructure underpinning biotechnology. So service providers and repository of living cell genome of organism and information relating the heredity and the function of biological system. The BRC consists of them. BRC contain collection of cultural organism, like the microorganism, seaweed, animal, and the derivatives like the gene, the also genome, plasmid. Also, it's including database, the structure information, and there, the related bioinformatics is, the contained. So BRC is, the huge, the things of huge infrastructure for, the bioresource. So now, the BRC must, have to consider of high standard of quality and expertise demanded by the international community of scientists and industrial for the delivery of biological information and materials. So the management of the require what we need for for the effective of efficiency quality management of BRC based on we need the local document, the all kind of document you need, and then you need best practice regulation or recommendation. Also, for BRC management procedure we also need. So like the policy, also the standard, the kind of thing we need. After that, so finally we couldn't touch about we need the very special law for the BRC management. So if you I'm not sure about you guys have experience, but OECD have that kind of the suggestion. So they the almost over 30 countries they made some suggestion that the best practice guideline for the bioresource center management. So you can you can go to the OECD homepage, you can download that kind of the best practice. Also ISBR, that is Global Biobanking Organization, that created opportunity for networking and education and innovation. So if you go to that site, you can get some information about the BRC management. So the what we need more information for operation. So sample source management, the workflow management, storage management, also, the instrument management, you need like, document or, the record or, some data, everything you need for operation. So first, I mentioned about, I talk about form and record. So, the management of BRC, you need like, the form or, the record. It's, the with paper or, you can, use your computer. But anyway, if you have no, the form or record, you couldn't check the, your bioresource, quality, quantity, and also, the accuracy. So, you need lots of, the information with, the paper or, the computer. So before we, the start our work, we discuss a lot and long time for making exact form and system. So, it's, the just example. So if you need, the making the rule or form record, I think I already mentioned about OECD guideline. So you can, the check that again. So for the process, like, the collection, there you can, see the process, equation, characterization, accession, preservation, and then inventory management. And then, after that is, the no problem, you can distribute. And then also, if some people are complain about your resource, you can so check about, the your sample again. So this complaint means, it may be, the sample is not reproducibility anymore. So that means you have to, the check again your all, the resource. I mean, that resource you have to check. So quality control is really important for your the BRC management. So sometimes, that reproduce not again anymore. That time you have to, the record, and then you have to decide the dispose. So that's also, the have to be recorded. Also, I mentioned about, the collection. So there is, the usually people, the collect, the just one area. But for safety, I mentioned recommend backup system. So if you have, your organization have got the fire or, the earthquake, anything, some kind of, the big problem, that time your your bio resource and collection gone. So, for safety, I think, the one or two more collection, the preservation you need. Yeah, I mentioned about, this process about that, but one more thing. So, the for accession, the numbering system is really important. Lots of people mistake during their numbering system. So if you have, the typing or the printing that time. There is lots of numbers. So maybe if you have a mistake, your bioresource, that confused. So this step you have to the very careful. So also the facility, what the kind of facility we need for management of BRC. So you have to consider about which equipment will you construct in your BRC. Also, the inspection is very important, security is important, safety is very important issue. So during the management of your BRC, that time you have to consider about all kind of things, and then always you have to be recorded that kind of information. So this one is just an example. So it's the very the limited things I put in, but if possible, if you have your PG or the other country, if you make the national level of BRC, you have to the make strong. So this one is our the BRC example. So first of all, I mentioned about marine culture collection. Actually, I'm a microbiologist. So if we got the sample, we the grow and then check the contamination. If there is no problem, we got the DNA and then the sequencing, and there is no problem with the original sample. We put into the freezer or deep freezer or the nitrogen tank, and then all data we put into the data system. And then someone want to distribute our sample, we open access. We open that sample to user. So if they are academia, they or if they are institute researcher, if they are industry person, they use for all part of study. So if that the sample has problem, we got the complaint report, and then we check that which the step that has the problem. If that is our mistake, we send again our sample to user. And this one is the marine genetic resource. This like the center, they got the sample, they think they consider which part they keep the storage, like the tissue or the gears or the others. They mentioned about how many the sample they put into the storage, and then that is in our guide. So follow that guide. We take the sample and the PCR, and then if that is exact, we also put into refrigerator, and then people want to distribute in outside that time. We also distribute to user. That is the marine bioactive compound, that's also similar. So got the sample and extract, the freeze drying, and then extract and fractionating, and then compound repository, and then also the data repository. It's the all that's the same step with the previous time, just the each bank, they have a little bit different the procedure. So we follow that things. I will show the FISA how they did the develop the Citra bin. So they the first time BRC or the scientist, they got the sample and then they the culturing or the unculturing things. But anyway, they studying about that one. But and then they study, keep going, and then they got some like this kind of data. And then if that is some kind of activity, the FISA got the sample, and then the heat compound they try to like the person, and then finally they commercialized. But that time, during that time, they got the bio resource, and then the sample they to the repository, like the to BRC, and then BRC take that sample, and then they preserve, and then also they the distribute to other outside the researcher or the scientist, academia. So this one is the step to Pfizer's the pipeline for the development of medicine. It's very interesting. The industry also, they interesting about bioresource for developing new drugs. So the only academia or researcher is not interested about bioresource. The industry also very, very interesting about bioresource. So bioresource, the high quality of bioresource is very important. So, the scientists, academia, also industry, they are very, the interesting about bioresource. So if that bioresource is not, the low quality, if that the biomaterials is low quality, so people, they not interesting anymore that kind of bioresource. So authenticity of biological material, database, bioinformatics, and accuracy of labeling is very important for high quality of sample, and then also the accuracy of data collected and supplied is very important for bioresource. So the data quality is top of concern of data integration, and also the high quality data will lead to knowledge for research excellence. And then so high quality data means well organized, documented, preserved, and accessible. Also, the accuracy and validity is necessary. Also, but problem in data quality, example, taxonomic data, sometimes you input misspelling or missing data, scientific name you miss, that data quality couldn't believe, the data couldn't believe. Also, the naming, it's really important. So if that is the standard, no documented, no computerized, so people don't use your BRC bioresource. So data is really, really important. I mentioned about, the management of BRC, but all, the document is data. So if you make a strong, the document or, the data or management, it's, the people believe your bioresource sample. So, the people touch, with your center. So here is, the like, the 2 or 3 years ago, we, in the our ex, the in the bioresource center, our center, we, the make a discuss about which data we put into our system. So, the long time we, the discuss about that, and so, and then later we got this, the if you, the go into our system, you can see that screen. But I'm sorry, now we have just Korean, so I just, the translate in our system. So Korean user, if they see the screen, they got this kind of information. This one is, the just for step, like, this one is previous mention, and previous time I mentioned about, the storage. So this one is like, the deep freezer, which, the where that sample is in. So this one is, the deep freezer, and then shelf number, rank number, box number, sample number. So if you are step, you can very easily, you can find that sample when people ask, the distribute. And then this one is our barcode system. So if you scan that barcode, there is, the almost 12 data set. So what kind of species, and then when, this stock made, also, the sample location was something. So almost 12 set distributor can see with barcode scanner. So this one is just, the very easy. So we the step, we, the add that kind of information, data put into our system, and then, our Embrace, automatically they, the validation, and then storage, and then analyze, and user, we can, you can, see that kind of all kind of information with your screen. Here is our Embrace system. Yeah, still, we have no English version, but so Embrace, this one is, our system. So there is how many, the bioresource you can access. And then also, there is several information in this system. And we have almost 13 sub-local bank in our country that all kind of, the bank information almost real time go to the Embrace. So that is, the connected. You can see the local bank's information with our Embrace system. So in Embrace system, we have this much of bioresource, and the specimen, and then also, we have the accessible bioresource is the like extract in our the MABIC. We have the almost 50 bioresource you can accessible. So I think the increased quality means reduce cost and above all maintain public trust. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank
If
you. Thank you, Dr. Beck, for your thorough and informative presentation. I'm not sure we can reveal this much information to everyone, but thank you very much. I think it must be very helpful to the participants. So far, we had two lectures in before. First one was sampling, and the second one was taxonomy. Now we arrive at the stage how we manage all the information we acquired through sampling and taxonomy. So I think the participants were able to see how MABIC managed all the information at the last point. So I think there would be the information was a lot in the presentation, in fact. And now I'd like to open the floor to the participants. If anyone wishes to take the floor, please let me know. While I'm waiting for participants to express their wish to take the floor, I'd like to say National Marine Biodiversity is the institution responsible for managing marine bioresource in Korea. So, and then the workshop was planned 2 years ago with collaboration with Ministry of Oceans and Fisheries and Korea International Agency of Cooperation and International Seabed Authority. And when we are planning this workshop, the original plan was inviting everyone to National Marine Biodiversity for 2 weeks. So you stay here, and if that happened, you could have seen all the information with your eyes, and then there could have been much better way to understand whole system. So according to the original plan, you could participate in sampling with our researchers, and you also could participate in identification process and also taxonomy. Maybe you could have had an opportunity to draw the samples with another bag, and also see how our repository is managed and the data information is managed with Dr. Beck. I think I just saw one hand raised. Oh, two hands. Then I'd like to give the floor to Raksha first, if I may call your first name. Raksha, please.
Hello. Hello.
I can hear you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ms. Beck, for your interesting presentation as well. So quite a lot to learn there. I'm interested, you mentioned something about the Bioresource Center and, sorry. So yes, you mentioned something about the Bioresource Center and then putting the information there for open access. So this open access, if I understand correctly, is for all, like, for example, for students, research, as well as for commercial purposes, if I'm correct?
Yes.
Yes. In that case, for commercial purposes, is there any requirement if the user is from the user for benefit sharing requirements?
Yeah, right.
And if there is, then how would you monitor, like, for example, which information they have acquired, and how would you determine the benefit sharing to the researcher or the person who has acquired this information?
It depends on your, the contract. Sometime, in our case, the benefit sharing means, if they make the commercial product, that time, we got some kind of, the money, and then also, the sometime, oh, yeah, sorry. Sometime, during the, the selling, and then on money, that time, the some percent it goes to in our, the institute, but it's only depends on, the institute condition, and then, the commercial, the contract. So it depends on, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Beck. Let me add something on what just Dr. Beck said. I'd like to mention that the nature of National Marine Biodiversity is public. We run by tax money, and we got funded from the Ministry of Oceans and Fisheries. So even though there are benefit sharing, it usually are very nominal, because we are not private entity. So we don't, our purpose is contributing to the development of the biosphere and not making profits. I just add to the Dr. Beck's intervention. Thank you.
Sorry. Yes, I understand that, sir. But my question was more related to, for example, if someone is using your information that you have put on the open access, and so a commercial company has probably used this information, then
Yeah.
how would you get that company to share that benefit that they have made from using your information?
The information is really no problem. Also, the industry, commercial, they, the want to get the high quality of sample and information. So that time, if they contact us, we also, discuss in the our institute. Also, we discuss with, the Ministry of Fishery, our, the country. So that time, still we have exact, we have no example about the sharing of with, the commercials, but we try to research together now with commercials. But after that, because, we just have, the 6 years, the institute, so I think we are baby in, in our country. So I think, but we have, the good materials and good information. So the commercial want to work with us. So I think maybe, the 3 or 4 years after, we got, that kind of question. So the commercial, they, the want to how much you want, or, the how, the share this, the information, or, the some kind of things. That time we really, really, consider about that, but we just copy with the other institute situation. But in our country, some of, the national institute, they share with the commercial some kind of percentage of benefit. Is it
Yes.
exactly,
thank you.
Your question?
No, it's I get yeah, that answers my question. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. I think I got your question too. I think you were asking about the process and modality of benefit sharing. I think we can discuss it later. And I'd like to give floor to Jelly, Razeli. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Shelly.
Mhm.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Dr. Beck, for a very informative presentation. It was really interesting to, for most of us, we've dealt with data in some part of our work. There's some people who I've worked with that have worked with, there's someone sitting next to me that actually works with databases, fisheries database. So what you presented to us today was not entirely, but somehow we understood the context, so where you're coming from as well. I'm just interested to know how long does it take for you, like from extraction of of the samples to analysis maybe, and then to the repository, and then to data entry into your systems, into Embreeze. And I'm just interested to know how long does it take? Does it really take a long time to do that? And in terms of data, of your quality control, how many people or how many stages does it take for because you were mentioning something on ensuring that even a wrong spelling or wrong insertion of data entry affects the whole quality of the data itself. So it must take a big time scrutinizing the data that goes into your system.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
just
it's a
my
really good,
curiosity.
important question as the manager. So the first of all, in my case, I'm the microbiologist. So I just the based on bacteria. So bacteria is very fast growing. That is no problem to the whole process until just the maybe within 1 month. We can the put into our the system. So first the take the sample, and then if we got the sample, we the growing, and then extract DNA, and then the PCR, and that is no problem. We the put into the our data our in the system, but that is just the like the 3 weeks totally. But like the micro algae, that is a little bit different. The micro algae is very difficult to get the single isolate. So that time the almost 3 or 4 months, or even sometime the 6 months it takes because the sometime agenic culture is making agenic culture is very difficult. So sometimes we need it depends on sample, it takes that time. But like the gene bank, the tissue or the genomic DNA, also the marine the extract, it takes almost I think 4 or 6 weeks put into the the database. Also the maybe like the culture collection, I think we need in 5 or 6% working the culture collection, and gene bank almost the 5 or 6% marine extract, that is yeah 8%, I think, yeah, in our institute case. So if you want to the management of BRC, each the individual bank, you almost the maybe at least 4 or the 6% you need.
Thank you, Dr. Beck. And okay, is there any other questions for Dr. Beck's presentation? So far, I see none, and then I see comments from Miss Mele, and okay, that's comment, right? Not a question, and she's emphasizing the importance of data quality. I think that's really good comments. And also there's another comments from Ms. Komal Devi. And okay, I think it is a confidentiality issue. Am I correct? And then I think that question is Ms. Komel, could you take the floor and explain your question a little bit more so we could have better understanding? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. My question is on the chain of custody of information or the samples that is in the lab or within the department. And we understand that you have many information, complex scientific information, and how do you control that information so that it's protected, and and what kind of process you have to ensure that the confidentiality is maintained, and what information gets shared on a public domain and what does not?
Oh, yeah. Before when we got the sample, so if there is the require the depositor, they want to if that depositor doesn't want to open their data, so that case we did not open. We don't open that the information. And also if that sample has during the access, if the sample has some kind of problem, like the contamination or the damage, that case we not open that sample, and then later we dispose that one. But anyway, each step we consider, and then so we if that also make some mistake, like if that is irregular the sample, that case we did not accept even the deposit. So every step we discuss, usually the well-trained step, that case they decide themselves. But if there is a little bit big problem, they also all our the step, they discuss about which the things open or not. Yeah, usually we do.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Ms. Kumao Devi, to make it simple, Dr. Beck decides every step. So that's what she does as a manager. So we have a managing system. So I think you could understand it that way. Okay, thank you, Dr. Beck. And is there anyone who wants to take the? Oh, okay, I have 3 hands. Is it okay if I give a priority to participants, Dr. Jinio?
Of course not, Dr. Mo. They raise their hands first anyway.
Okay.
But I'm happy to be last also.
Sure. Thank you. Let me give the floor to Gianti? Hi. Floor is yours.
Hi, yes, Mr. Yang. I have a kind of a general question, not specific to like Fiji. Like Fiji does not have a national marine bioresource center, and like we have at some level in University of South Pacific where we do some testing and data analysis. Sorry. And I was just thinking, and we are here attending this training and trying to develop action plans for biological sampling, taxonomy, and now managing of biological information. And the kind of presentation we have seen, it's so advanced level of having a national center and then managing, collecting information and then managing. So I'm just thinking how like the action plans we're going to develop, how this is going to be like practical and like how it can be applied to Fiji in long term. What are your views on this? Like, are you going to have like develop things here or do sponsoring, knowing Fiji's current capacity in resources and also in expertise, like we have like foreign scientists and not that many local scientists that are, for example, currently working in the University of South Pacific doing all those marine genetic and all those things. So I'm just curious to know how this training and all these action plans are going to benefit Fiji in long term. Thank you.
Yeah. So that is really, really important, the question, I think. Actually, long time, I think 5 or 6 years ago, in our country, almost 10 years ago, we have no national marine biodiversity institute in our country. Just the like local small the bioresource center in the marine area, like the fish bank or the mollusca bank or the marine microbes bank. So, but all kind of the information is not something is not collaborated with international border. So that time, if we want to publish, some paper, that case, their requirement is a little bit different in our system. So many, the like public officer and also, the professor, also, the even industry, they want, the national marine bioresource like infrastructure they want. So that requirement made the requirement goes to the establish our institute. So I think the PG also, if you have no marine bioresource center, national marine the bioresource center, you the ask to your the government, we need the national marine bio the resource institute. Even then makes the goes to better with the international collaborator, also the international commercials, that is not the gender issue, but anyway that is, I think, your the PG, your role, I think.
Thank you, Dr. Beck. But generally, it's not that easy to
yeah, right,
get
right.
the government to develop the center. There's so many other things, pressing issues that it's there. Thanks anyway.
Yeah, especially the first the things, money. funding issue. So government has no, the enough money always. In our country also same, but anyway, the demand is increase. So I think, if you all, the people, they, the make, the strong plan, and then, the go to government knocking again. Later, I think, the PG also got the National Marine Biodiversity Institute. We just 6 or the 7 years institute. So I think our case is good to Fiji, I think. I hope so. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Bag, and also Mrs. Gianti. I really appreciate your question. That's a really important question for action plan, and I really appreciate that. And just at this juncture, I'm just wondering if Dr. Ginio, were you going to take the floor on this issue or something else?
Yeah, I was going to make a simple question, but I think there will be more opportunities for discussing if we are running out of time. I can also just say the question, and then we can hear maybe the answer later on.
No. I was wondering if you want to make any comment on Ms. Gianti's question. No?
Not on the previous question, just regarding this presentation.
Okay, thank you. Then
I see there's Miss Olivia.
Yeah, she's on.
Yes.
Okay, then I'll give the floor to Miss Olivia.
Hello. Well, technically, the question I really wanted to ask, I really wrote it down in my notebook, and then Janti actually read out my mind too. So basically what she has mentioned is what I also wanted to ask, but in your perspective, I know this is based on gender, the training, but in your own perspective, how do you see Fiji in few years' time in regards to this training and this? It has to go through certain processes to have this marine bioresource information system, and to get the relevant stakeholders and consultations. But from your point of view as the leader trainers for this program, what do you see Fiji in a year's time in regards to this, and being Fiji the hub of the Pacific? I believe that you have visions set for Fiji. What do you see Fiji in years' time?
Yeah, actually, I've never go into, the ocean. I'm a, the lab worker. So I think, actually, I'm not sure about the management of a bioresource center is really good to women. But anyway, I think, sometime this one is really good opportunity to women scientists. Sometime in our country also, the same kind of issue every year, or that means, sometime if I go to the the baby delivery, that time you're the working, the experience little bit, the break. But if you are lab worker and very well trained person, you the easily back to lab and then work. So I think you have to consider this kind of BRC manage, or if you work at the BRC, that is I think good to women. But anyway, actually not much the gender issue, I think. Yeah, just good to women.
All right, thank you. Just because I was just reading through the goal, and for this training I've been reading through in and out and trying to figure out from where you're trying to get our attention because of this training, this course. And I believe because since you are still developing, and this is a lot of things that needs a lot of consultation, technical and international expertise in regards to marine bioinformation system. I believe this training is simply just to help us, each individual who are here, to understand the gender equality into the basics of the taxonomy, ecology, repository management, database management, and outreach programs in which we can get ourselves involved in for the time being. And while we are still in the developing and the consultation process for the marine bioresource information, because this requires a national strategic plan and a lot of consultation. And I really thank you so much for the information and the presentation that you've shared. There's a lot of things that you have highlighted, which really will help and benefit each and one of us who are here, and hoping this help us to implement a few of the things that we have learned in our field of work. And I think that's about it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Olivia, for excellent question and comments. And I mean, regarding all the questions together, I just like to point out one thing. Capacity building for data, generating data and sharing data is somewhat different from establishing the data center. That's different matters. So I think our focus, the program's focus is more on the capacity building and not, you know, I mean, it can be your goal or objective to establishing data center, but our goal is not, the first goal is not establishing or constructing data center. We are more focusing on the nurturing and nurturing the female leaders in this area. So females' opinion can be more mainstreamed in you know, building the approaches and national or local policies. So I like to point out there's a little different issues. Okay, now let me give you a floor to Dr. Luciana Zinio. Thank you.
Thank you. And yes, that's been a quite interesting discussion. I just wanted to ask very briefly, I mean, I'm sorry if I missed during the presentation, the source of information that is collected in the data center, it's always comes from the direct projects done by MABIC, or do you, for example, establish collaboration with a university or other data providers that could also deposit samples and deposit data in MABIC Institute? So I wanted to understand more also how it works at the information flow. It's only going out or it's also coming in, and how you coordinate with other data providers. Thank you.
Yeah. So in our case, our government, our institute made by national law. So you know, in the law, the local bank, their sample and data goes into MABIC. So it's you know, the government supported, you know, when we got the, you know, that kind of a system, it's little bit I think not easy, but anyway, you know, our case is lucky because you know, the professor or you know, the personal, you know, the person, when they, you know, have to give their sample to government, they, you know, sometimes I don't want, you know, they say, but anyway, it's low, so you know, they have to send, you know, their sample at least, you know, one copy, or you know, some case, you know, the whole copy to in our, you know, the institute. So and then, but now we have still, you know, the work with, you know, 13 local bank. Also, in our institute, the give some the management fee to them, so they the all data almost online the deposit in our the Embrace system, but still the half of sample in their the storage and half of sample in our the institute. Yeah, that is our situation.
Thank you. That's a very clear answer. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bang and Dr. Zinio. Now I see none, but I mean, we already touched on the action plan, but I think, but now we can turn to the, we can take the questions regarding action plans. Is there anyone who wants to ask a question regarding action plan on this subject, management of data information? I understand many participants. I understand many participants already showed their interest in this data management in group session. If none, I'd like to ask Dr. Beck on behalf of the participants. Okay, my question is, maybe my question can start the conversation. My question is, if you are in Fiji and about to make any program or any plan for data sharing information system, and who be the first person you want to contact or talk? That's my question. Just imagine you're in Fiji.
Oh, yeah.
Not easy, I know.
Yeah, not easy. Really difficult. Yeah. Sometimes if I have a person working in university, or the first time I will contact that person, because the first time if I the government officer the contact, it's not easy. I'm not the government the officer, so I ask the first personally. Yeah, it's not easy. Yeah.
Okay.
But anyway, I will contact you guys, the in the floor, you guys are I will contact, because I have your email address, and then so I will contact you. Like I can see Tarisi, Meliki, Maria, Alice, Lomika, and Melisoni. Is it correct? Anyway, so I will contact you guys first, because I already knew it. So the first time personally I will contact you.
Yes, Dr. Beck. I would do the same. I also try to contact one of our participants out of this 24 excellent participants. But then, what would be the we contact you successfully contacted one of our participants. And what would be the next step?
Next thing is, the first, the think what we will do, actually, if we have no plan to in the busy, like, the research together, or, the just, the temporary work together, it depends on, the situation. So first, I contact, the person, the you, and then, that time I will make, make the plan, what this works, the purpose and what we need, and then, the first discuss a lot, or, the some kind of, if we need paperwork, I will do first that things. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Any other comments from the participants? I think this is a very directly related to the action plan. Who we should talk to first? In my case, when I have mission to establish the international collaboration network, first I decide clearly the objective, what I should do. I mean, what is the mission? But usually to me, the mission is given, so I don't really have to consider it. And as I asked, second step would be, who should I talk to? And there were so many different ways. Maybe I can talk to someone who I already know, and then ask them to recommend someone. Or maybe I can do research and for any institution. And so I'm relevant institution, and I contact the relevant institution and talk to them and to recommend me, any person I should talk to. And third, and then from here is quite complex thing. Here kind of getting complicated. Okay, now I have network with my partners abroad, but now it's time to turn myself to my country, and I start consider the stakeholders, like for establishing collaboration. Definitely, I need human resources and also the financial resources. So I need to secure the financial resources. I need to talk to and ministry, or sometimes the National Marine Biodiversity Institute itself. Like I need to talk to the relevant people, officers, so to try to secure the financial resources. Also, same time, I have to do the same thing with my future collaborative partners. Like if they have any resources, and if they have also demand, or if they have anything, I can help. But most of all, for me, most important is to find the people who can support me, and the people who share my interest and my belief. And I think finding those people are most important to me. That was in my case. And if there is no wish to requesting floor, I think oh, Hilda, please. Thank you. Hilda, you have floor.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation and the discussion. And I'm just sitting here. Oh, my microphone is down. Is up. I'm just sitting here, just taking in all all this, listening to the experts talk and listening to the other participants. And I think at this point, you could say that our current status in Fiji, I like the point that you made that in regards to the learnings, the takeaways that we have from here. Maybe we cannot actually build a bioresource center, information center, but whatever we can take away from here that could help individual work in terms of data collecting, in terms of data quality, and in terms of entering or sharing the right information. So in whatever organization or units of divisions that we work in, these are I think that's my takeaway, yeah? The data quality, ensuring that whatever information I collect or whatever data that I collect, that it is correctly entered, properly analyzed, that would result to proper decision making. So yeah, thank you to Dr. Beck for that very comprehensive and technical and very scientific presentation. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Hilda, for your concluding remarks. I think you wrap up this session perfectly. Dr. Beck, would you like to have something to add on?
I think, yeah. So, if you not ask to the making or establishment of the Marine Bioresource Center to your government, they didn't consider. So if you have to ask to your country.
Thank you, Dr. Beck, and thank you everyone for your attention. Then let's finish this session for now, and then we will invite Dr. Sonakshi Mishra in a minute. Thank you, Dr. Beck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, dear participants, now I'm going to invite Dr. Sonakshi Mishra from International Seabed Authority. Today, she's going to give us a lecture on International Seabed Authority's capacity development initiative for enhancing the role of women in deep sea science and related careers. Dr. Mishra, you have the floor.
Thank you, Dr. Mo, and good afternoon, everybody. It's a real pleasure to be invited and to be able to give a presentation. So if it is okay with everyone, should I start sharing the presentation? Yeah. Please excuse me, let me just upload it. Is my screen visible to everyone?
Yes, Dr. Mishra.
Sorry. Okay. So is it all right? I can only see the...
I see your presentation well.
Okay, excellent. Just wanted to make sure that my screen is visible. Okay. So, so once again, good afternoon to everybody. I would start by first thanking, sorry, I don't have a video. I would be sharing my slides. So can I please decline? Okay.
Go ahead.
So am I audible? Dr. Mo, am I audible?
Yeah, I can hear you very well.
Okay, all right. Okay, excellent. So sorry, I got a message that said that I have to share my video, but I don't have any video to share. It's just a slide. So I will just go ahead with the slides. So I would start by thanking Koika and Mabik for organizing this training and inviting to deliver this presentation today at the Global Women's Leadership Training Program in Marine Bioresources Information System in Fiji. It is a real pleasure to meet all of you virtually, and I look forward to a fruitful session with you today. So I work at the International Seabed Authority as Program Management Officer, and I do come myself with a background in marine biogeochemistry. So this session would focus on the role of women in deep sea research and related fields, which comes under the umbrella of marine scientific research, and how the different capacity development initiatives of ISA are targeted at enhancing the participation as well as the leadership of women scientists in these fields. I'm having difficulty in changing the slides. Okay, let me go back again.
Dr. Mishra?
Yes, I seem to have some.
Okay, do you think it is difficult to solve?
Are you able to see it now?
Yes, right.
All right, okay. So apologies for the technical glitches. I guess we have to adapt to this new era of the post-COVID technical virtual workshops. So moving on to the next slide. So the outline of the session would be as follows. We would start with a brief overview of the current status of women globally in science, and in particular, ocean science and the related fields. We will then hear about ISA's mandate on capacity development and the different initiatives that we have to strengthen the role of women in marine scientific research and women scientists, particularly from developing states. We will also hear about then a flagship initiative of ISA that is in partnership with various organizations, including MABIC, to enhance the participation and leadership of women in deep sea research, and conclude with an outlook. So in the 2030 agenda of sustainable development and the 17 sustainable development goals that you may be aware of that was adopted in 2015 by all the member states of United Nations. One of the goal number 5, is entirely dedicated to achieve gender equality and empower all women and girls. In this context, gender equality is recognized not just as a fundamental human right in its right, but also in the context of SDG, it is recognized as a necessary foundation for a peaceful and prosperous and sustainable world. And within this goal, which is goal number 5, there are several targets. And one of the target, precisely target 5.5, is actually dedicated to ensuring women's full and effective participation and equal opportunities for leadership at all levels of decision-making, be it political, economic, and public life. And this call for equality of women at the leadership level automatically then translates into scientific research and the related fields that we're talking about today. So then, where do we stand in terms of gender equality in science, and more precisely ocean science, and even more precisely within the various varying subfields of ocean science? And how do we stand in terms of gender equality, not just within the different branches of science, but also within the different levels or hierarchies of science? So to answer this question, it's not easy because we still have very limited data with very wide national and regional variations. However, attempts have been made, and we can at this stage say that women still account for a minority of researchers in science in general. It is estimated that less than 30% of female researchers are there globally in the broad umbrella of science. And that not just minority in terms of number, but also it is noted that women in these fields, in STEM, in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, they also publish less, they are paid less, and they also do not progress as far as their male counterparts in their careers. Then how does it look in the field of marine science, which is of relevance to us here? Not so different, unfortunately. It's still a minority, slightly better than the global average of 30%. And the difference, and on top of that, it's noticeable that the difference is even more pronounced in highly technical fields and emerging fields, as well as senior and leadership roles. So for example, in ocean observation and ocean technology, which are relatively advanced and more technically complex fields, let's say, they are still dominated by men. So, which is quite interesting, because if you look at ocean research or marine science, whether, in fisheries, for example, in Fiji is very important, right? So it has been traditionally a male-dominated field, and because of which the effect that we see is very clear, right? Because we have a minority. However, it is very noteworthy to see that even the new fields which are developing today as we speak, there also men continue to comprise the majority, which is almost 70% in terms of some of the examples that I show you here. And adding to this, even further, it's not just the different streams of science, it's not the new and emerging technologically advanced fields of science where we see a gender disparity, but what we also see is a gender disparity in career progression, which can be applied across all research fields here. So this is commonly known as a leaky pipeline effect, quite commonly referred to and studied. So what you see here is a continuous decline of women as you progress along the career path of scientific research. So as you can see, you have almost equal participation of women at bachelor's and graduate level, and also at master's. So at tertiary education, you almost have a 50-50 ratio between male and female, but then it starts to decrease. It starts to decrease during PhD and very significantly after PhD, which basically takes you to the job front, or, takes you to the, allow you to continue your scientific research career. So you see there's a continuous drop, and this indicates that greater participation in tertiary education does not necessarily guarantee a greater participation in research at a later stage, especially at post-PhD and postdoctoral stages, if we were to consider that. So a lot of attributes can be, this leaks in the pipeline, so to say, this drops in the gender equality can be attributed to several factors, some of them which are generically known and some of them that still need to be identified, are not just limited to gender bias and discrimination or few chances of promotion, etc. But interestingly, it has been also attributed to a very important factor in terms of whether or when female researchers have children. For example, some studies indicate that married women with young children have the least likelihood of getting a tenure track position than married men with young children, and even less than single women without children. So as you can see, there are a lot of factors that play into role. I'm sure many of which the participants here today are aware of themselves, which we can discuss later. So what we see here is basically a gender inequality from all dimensions when we talk about the ocean science in general. So coming to the different barriers that are leading us to gender equality in ocean science. These can be many. Again, I would like to reiterate the fact that the data that we have is very limited, very, very large variations, and might not necessarily be very easily extrapolated to every scenario. So because these can vary based on regional, geographic, and cultural and social factors. However, here are a few examples, some of the common causes that have been identified and which perhaps can be used as an umbrella, but yet have room to identify more specific issues that could be specific to a certain region or a geography or a kind of country or a society. So what we see here are typical issues that traditionally the field has been male dominated: marine science, all aspects of the traditional sectors, as well as the new sectors. And this could also be because because of that, we might not have adequate role models or mentors that see women in different and significant roles in these fields. Because of which there might be implicit biases or prejudices which prevent women from pursuing or associating their gender with a certain kind of career. And this could be amplified because there might not be enough information at an early age, because I think that is a very formative period to decide the inclination of people to go for. And of course, one of the very important limitation comes because of family and maternity related obligations. Then there are other issues like whether you have access to jobs, financial support, career progression, and these are all at the initial level. And once you enter the field, there is also factors that play a role, whether they encourage you or discourage you from maintaining your career. This could be lack of perhaps gender sensitive policies or initiatives to support the issues that are specific to the female gender, like we listed some. Or there might be in general a lack of awareness within the institutional or the corporate environment regarding the issue of gender equality, and might not be considered as something that is seen as a part of the core sector. Of course, like every sector has its core, and gender equality is more of a cross-cutting and often seen as a social issue. It does not necessarily sit well with institutions or people that are more experienced, are more used to technical expertise. And above all of this, I think what is also a major setback is we still have a lack of systematic gender data to highlight this inequality and thereby also identify exactly what are the causes. Because without the evidence, without the concrete identification of certain trends specific to countries or regions, it is difficult to convince policymakers to create initiatives or policies that would help address it. So I think it's somehow, that would be a good starting point to start working towards the achieving the gender equality. So I think these are some of the listed issues, and I would be very happy to hear any other challenges or barriers that you might think you have experienced in your career or in your experience. So talking about this very last information, which is the lack of systematic gender segregated data. So I will come to it very shortly through this ISA initiative, which I briefly mentioned, which is the Women in Deep Sea Research Project. So we would come to that later and how we are trying to address that issue. So coming to, apologies, I will be back shortly. Sorry for, am I back? Is my screen back?
Your screen is back.
Okay,
yes.
Excellent, thank you. Apologies for the slight disruption. So I would now come to the specific part with the International Seabed Authority and what it does to address the issue and its collaboration with MAVIC. So ISA, as you may have heard, is the organization that is established under the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, through which state parties organize and control activities in the international seabed area, which is considered to be the common heritage of all of mankind, in order to promote an orderly, safe, and responsible management and development of seabed resources for the benefit of mankind as a whole. So that is the key mandate of ISA. And with respect to capacity building, ISA's mandate under the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea transpires through four main elements. These are marine scientific research, protection of the marine environment, technology transfer, and finally, effective participation of developing states. And in particular, geographically disadvantaged states like the small island developing states, the least developed countries, and the landlocked developing countries. ISA currently implements its various capacity, its capacity building mandate through 6 main avenues. First, the contractor training program. This is a unique and one of its kind example under international law. It's because under the UNCLOS, or the United Nations Convention of the Law of the Sea, exploration contractors that have exploration contracts with the ISA are required to develop practical trainings for individuals from developing states, and ISA monitors that this obligation is fulfilled. So this is very beneficial because exploration activities are highly technically advanced and expensive. And through this obligation, a lot of opportunities, practical trainings, onboard practical trainings even are provided for individuals and capable scientists, early career scientists to come and have that experience in person. And so that's a very unique example of its kind. That's as we pointed out initially. Apart from that, there's also an endowment fund for marine scientific research, which provides grants and resources to individuals from developing states who would like to participate in research programs. There are also internships that are provided to young professionals and students. And apart from that, we also organize information workshops, mainly upon request by one or more of the member states of ISA. And for example, the most recent one was conducted earlier this month for Indonesia. What we also have are called the voluntary commitments. These are the commitments that the International Seabed Authority registered at the 2017 UN Ocean Conference. And it addresses a lot of avenues regarding capacity building. So, and one particular commitment is basically addressed towards enhancing the role and participation of women, particularly from the LLDCs and SIDS, and about which we will hear shortly. Lastly, we also have a joint training research center, which was recently established with China in November 2020 to support the role of ISA in capacity building in marine scientific research. ISA is highly committed to enhance the role and participation and leadership of women in marine scientific research, and to implement measures that would strengthen their role and address any barrier that prevents them from effectively participating in all aspects of marine scientific research. So as in the previous slide, you saw the different kinds of programs that we have that are targeted at capacity building, right? We have contractor training program, internships, endowment fund for marine scientific research, the voluntary commitments. And what you can see is we continue to achieve significant participation of women in all of our programs, aiming at almost 50% among all of them, with one fully dedicated voluntary commitment for females or women scientists. Furthermore, as an international gender champion, the Secretary General of ISA has further made it a priority for ISA to advance women empowerment and leadership in deep sea research. So to now come back to this flagship initiative that we were talking about, which is called the Women in Deep Sea Research Project. So this builds on a voluntary commitment registered by ISA at the 2017 UN Ocean Conference. The challenge of underrepresentation of women in ocean science, which we were talking about, is expected to be even further notable in developing states, and particularly the vulnerable group of the least developed countries and the landlocked developing countries and the small island developing states. And cognizant of this, ISA, together with the Office of the High Representative of these three groups of countries, along with various other partners through governments, regional and international organizations, industry and academia, research institutes, including MABIC, is now implementing this project starting this year. And it's to enable empowerment and leadership of women in deep sea research, which would also then contribute to strengthening the resource base of the developing states in emerging sectors such as deep sea research and technology. And the project will center around 4 key areas of action: policy development, capacity development, sustainable partnerships, and communication and outreach. And the activities will range from improving data availability for improving informed policy development, like we discussed earlier, to establishing communities of practice, mentorship programs, leadership programs, among other, through strategic alliances, through these organizations and institutions that you can see here, some of which you can see in the screen. So in line with what we discussed earlier on the need for systematic data, one of the first activities of the Women in Deep Sea Research Project is to improve the availability of data and information for better understanding and analysis of gender-specific barriers, as well as solutions for women scientists, specifically from these 3 groups of vulnerable countries in deep sea research and then related careers. To that end, one of our first activities would be then to do this gender mapping and survey. In this, more than 25 countries are participating, including Fiji. And there would be a quantitative assessment of representation of women scientists in identified deep sea related research disciplines or related careers, because this is not necessarily a field that is developed everywhere. And then identifying critical barriers that are specific to these countries or regions, which are preventing their participation and access to leadership positions. The findings of this study will help enable the first ever database on women qualified in deep sea research and related disciplines, and those working in related careers. It is expected that this will significantly contribute to improving the availability and reliability of information for better understanding and analysis of these barriers that we were talking about, and finding solutions at policy and institutional levels. So in this gender mapping and this barrier analysis, which we are in the process of doing or starting very shortly, we will look at the representation, the status of representation of women at different stages of scientific research career chain. So when we talk about women in science, there are 3 levels of it to look at. One is the entry into the scientific field in the first place, and then to be able to maintain a career in it, and then to grow within that career to leadership and decision-making positions. Because it is important to look at factors that facilitate or obstruct women in the first place from entering the field. How do they even start to think of a scientific career? And then what allows them to maintain it or discourages them to drop out, like which we saw earlier in the screen. And then finally, what factors play a role in enabling them to really reach the top of the ladder, the senior management and leadership roles? Is there gender equality among heads and directors of research organizations, companies, and relevant government entities? So, and that is why it is important to look at a variety of indicators in relation to policies, infrastructure, and also in different sectors. In academia might look a bit different than in corporate world, and the government might look different from how the industry looks like. So I think what we are trying to achieve is build indicators around the different challenges that we discussed earlier, and then map, have both a quantitative and a qualitative assessment of the issues and the challenges, or even the facilitators of women's participation in accessing leadership in science and marine science here. So in conclusion, I would like to reiterate that in order to eliminate the barriers which we identify that prevent women from getting access to resources, to leadership, to be able to participate in decision-making process in the fields of marine science as easily as compared to their male counterparts, it is really important to be able to identify and understand them clearly, because these could be specific to regions, geographies, economic and social cultural conditions. And therefore the measures or the actions to address those also need to be targeted and effective. And secondly, bringing structural changes to address issues that have historically and systematically accumulated over long periods of time. It will need meaningful interventions at all levels, at political, at institutional and social, as well as personal levels. So it will take time. And I think that is why it's a really good opportunity through the action plan in this training program, or through the gender mapping activity, through the ISA's Women in DAY3 research project, because here it can really allow contributions both from personal and institutional mindset to come and contribute opinions that can then help identify actions that would enhance the participation and leadership of women scientists in all substreams of marine science, including the new and emerging technology, really advanced science. And here I would just like to add what I observed in the previous session with some of the participants asking that, marine bioresources or the trainings or the sessions that you're now taking might not be established at this stage in Fiji. But I think it is important to keep in mind that what the gender equality that we are seeing here or we are trying to address can be categorized into two kinds. One, in our traditional sectors, which we see is a result of historical or traditional reasons, because it has always been a male-dominated sector. And that's why that is one thing to address, an area which has already become traditionally gender unequal. And then secondly, is what is really critical is to keep an eye on emerging fields, which are only now developing. And I think it is much easier to bring in interventions at an early stage before a field has developed and become more concrete in its foundation, to be able to bring about these factors, to make sure that the resources or the access to education, access to information, access to training, such as these are being intervened at an early stage, so that when in 10 years, let's say, a sector is developing very strongly, we have already managed to create or facilitate equality of all groups of people. So I think with that, I would like to thank you for your attention and your time, and I would be happy to have any discussion or questions that you may have.
Thank you, Dr. Mishra. During your presentation, I've learned a lot, I have to confess. And Dr. Mishra gave us a lot of information and inspiration. One of them is like a leaky pipeline pipeline syndrome, may I call it? And I think that is very interesting. And then I think that's something we should focus on. And she also provided the reason for the leaky pipeline, lack of rollover models, and lack of gender sensitive policies. And those could be the reasons. I mean, there's a factors we also need to take consideration. And also, Dr. Sumira also provide us like the present status of gender in marine science research and deep sea research. And I also, the gender mapping is very useful for our action plan, I believe. And then she also provided us the great strategy to establish the female women's leadership, such as establishing in new emerging area. I think that's a good strategy. Having just said that, I'd like to see if there's anyone who wishes to take a floor for questions or comments. Okay, while you are digesting the presentation, let me ask Dr. Mishra, what distinguishes this program from other program is this is a program for female, not just the male and female general. So in your view, what we should consider to write an action plan for enhancing capacity for generating information sharing? Is there anything particular in your mind that we really should consider and we should touch on or we should emphasize on? Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mo. I think that's a good question. Yes, of course. I think that is the specialty of this program, that this is targeted for female participants. And so I think in line with what I was saying earlier is that it's much easier to facilitate gender equality before something takes off than to retrofit the solutions once it has already started to happen. I think what would be very useful is, like, one of the factors that we see or hear often is the lack of mentorship or the lack of access to information or networking. And I would think that perhaps creating opportunities for partnerships and, so there would be more visibility for not just national, but also international collaborations, which our very capable female scientists here can leverage on. I think that would be a good contribution from what I have seen and heard today in today's in presentations and lectures. But I would be happy to also hear what some of our participants think about it.
Thank you, Dr. Mishra. Is there, I have more questions, so if you don't ask questions, I'll keep asking Dr. Mishra the questions.
Yes, so please. I'm happy to answer as many questions.
Oh, there is a question from Ms. Melle. Is there a possibility of internship from Fiji for MAVIC and ISA on research field, such as the taxonomy and any other research field?
So I can answer for ISA. So ISA does have internship programs for young professionals and also students. The information can be found at the website of ISA. isa.org, so it's the International Seabed Authority website. So I would definitely so recommend to check the website regularly or follow it on social media if you have, because we often publish several positions or places like for internships or trainings under the contractor training program or workshops. So I would really recommend that you can keep looking for it, and if anything is of interest, we would be happy to, you can use the application system or the process that is mentioned in the website. I would leave it to Dr. Mo to answer the question from Abhay.
Thank you. About the Ms. Mellon's question, would you write this suggestion to your action plan, so I can be a better position to ask Mavic to develop this program. So far, I'm not sure, we had one researcher, but I'm not sure he was intern or he was a fellow. So I cannot give you an answer right now, but definitely it'll be helpful if you put this into the action plan. Okay, and next up is Jelly, please. Jelly.
Hi, thanks, Dr. Mo, and thank you very much, Dr. Mishra. Man, your presentation was the motivational one, an inspiring one as well. For one, I have a background in marine science. I studied marine science at the university, and then now I'm working for Ministry of Fisheries. But then my work is not entirely or directly related to what what my passion was about when I was a young lady, when I decided to choose my program at the university. But then now I'm involved in more like administration stuff at work. So when you're talking about all the activities and the talking about marine science research and women involvement in that area, it kind of like sparked the passion that I had how many years ago? 8 to 9 years ago. God, I'm old. But yeah, such an interesting information, and just listening to your presentation, marine bioresources or marine science or this training is sort of like a cross-sectoral kind of area, and towards the end of your presentation, there were 3 points that you had put up on your presentation, and one of them was on gender mapping and barrier analysis in Fiji. I think that's one of the very important things that we, the ladies who are involved in this training, can probably recommend or suggest as a way forward or an action plan. Is firstly, let's do a gender mapping of our status, where we are right now, and analyze the barriers that are here, and only then can we connect all the dots together to marine scientific research, deep sea research. But yeah, it's something that we can all be motivated to work towards too, and thankful for this training opportunity. It has sparked all those ideas, bulbs coming up now, and I know it's happening to all the other ladies in the room as well. Thank you very much, Dr. Mishra and Dr. Mo.
Thank you so much, Rajali. It's nice to see the spirit rising. And on the point that you made, the last point, I would just like to highlight, I think this is a really good idea. And just to give you the context, so the survey, the gender mapping survey, is on the move. So how we do it is basically we have, like I said, we have around 25 countries which will be participating, including Fiji, and we have identified national focal points, and a survey would be distributed very shortly to all relevant institutions, ministries, departments, and entities that are related to marine science or related fields. So I am quite sure that all of you would be receiving that because I'm assuming you all come under the same sector, but that's also something which we can definitely can coordinate with MABEC, because MABEC is also a partner in this, and we can make sure that you are able to participate in that survey. So that is also definitely something that can be reflected in the action plan. So just wanted to let you know that this will be happening very soon, most likely next month or latest in December.
Thank you, Dr. Mishra, and also thank you very much, Jelly, and for the excellent question and comments. And now we have Hilda. Ms. Hilda, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Misha. Yes, very comprehensive presentation, very informative. And I agree with Chelly that it's inspiring and motivating. Yeah? Thank you. And it's coming from a female, you know, encouraging, and we kind of see ourselves in your presentation. Back to Dr. Mo's comment on the leaking pipeline. You see how many women graduate and kind of just like decline, or women fall through the cracks. I'm just speaking from Fiji's perspective, but this is my understanding of what I see that is happening in country. Could it be one of the reasons is the lack of opportunity available in terms of job opportunity for the field of marine research? As we've heard and experienced by Rachel, you know, how she's not practicing what she studied, but she's doing something totally different. So I think I feel like one of the setbacks into the leaking pipeline or the contribution is the lack of opportunities. You have women willing to do the work, women who has the interest, but there's no opportunity for them to do that, or no space. So I just thought I'd say that.
Thank you, Hilda. Dr. Mishra, would you like to respond to Hilda's intervention?
Yeah, I think that could definitely be one of the factors, the lack of opportunities and lack of, let's say, jobs, like you said, that could also add on to the drop-off or the falling out of the women in this career. But again, I think this is, I'm sure it's a combination of several factors, but I agree that this is a very important factor that, you know, that it's not just the education and the training, but we also have to think how it can be absorbed into the job market later in the future. And so I think that is a point well made. And just adding on to your point and what Rajali mentioned earlier is, I think what is also, so a career progression in a certain scientific field is not necessarily a straight line for everybody, you know, because, for example, those who end up becoming directors of research organizations are not necessarily involved in research themselves anymore, but they often take administrative and management paths. So it could be that you start as a scientist, go up to mid-level career through technical expertise, and then at some point branch out to more managerial and administrative roles. So I think even that is that should be considered as a path of scientific progression, because almost in all sectors, the final stage will be mainly managerial and administrative. So I think it's good to keep an open mind that it can be a straight path, but it can also be related. So as long as the opportunities are there to have an equal representation of women in all areas of career. So not just that it should not be that all women end up only doing technical work at the end of the day, and then the managerial work goes to the men only. So I think it's really about all that
the other way around, where the women don't get to go out to the fields or offshore and do the technical work and somehow end up doing only the administrative. So I think it's really about striking the balance, and it depends also a bit on personal expertise and personal choices. Some people might really want to be out there in the field, which they should be able to do it, and there should not be any external factors preventing that, but there should also be options for those who wish to take up more managerial or administrative roles in the future. You know, they should not be able to access it because it has been historically belonging to another group of persons. So I think it's a combination of external factors, but also really sometimes subjective and depending on personal choices also. So that would be my take here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mishra, and also Ms. Hilda. Dr. Zinio, you asked the floor. Oh, okay. Thank you, Dr. Zinio.
Yes, it was just a very brief addition to the discussion earlier on specific opportunities or training or other types of capacity building opportunities that are specific related to taxonomy. So I appreciate my colleague already gave a very good idea of what are the opportunities, but if you may recall my presentation yesterday, there's also a number of initiatives that will really focus on taxonomy. So I would just say that to keep eyes open, especially in the coming months and in next year, next couple of years, that will hopefully we can implement many of these ideas that have started to emerge from the past taxonomic standardization workshops. So yeah, that's all I wanted to make that link to yesterday's discussions. And yeah, one example, actually, to be honest, there's currently an open call for, but I don't know if it's for a postdoctoral fellowship that is now open for a project to be developed at IFREMER. It's one of the research institutions in France. So we can also post that link. Of course, we understand that you have permanent or full-time jobs that have maybe you cannot be away from for such a long period, but that's one example of initiative. But I think it could be important, for example, in the action plan to highlight what modalities could be important or could more suit your availabilities as well, so that we can also, when we think about designing these opportunities, we can also think about the different potential audiences, because it's different if we're targeting or thinking about early career student, or if we are already thinking about more established professional, like most of you at the moment. So I think it's quite interesting that we can continue to discuss this. But I'm happy to provide more details on that specific one that we have at the moment open. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Luciana Zinio. And now I'd like to give the floor to Ms. Olivia. Olivia, yours.
Right. Career development. So career development at the student perspective, at the student level. What is the trend? The current trend in PG is the curriculum in schools, and how the children are being inspired on certain areas of career that they wish to be when they actually further their studies in universities. So I guess one of the issues that we're currently facing is the capacity training at a lower level in high school. because the thing is, if you can see, I believe others will also agree with me. Mostly when everybody is in high school, they'll just few things, only few profession they'll only think of: being an accountant, a nurse, a doctor, a police, a soldier, agriculturist. But into depth of other certain areas of career development, they get to find that more when they enter university level. And that's one of the issues that we're currently facing in Fiji. But if in future this could develop more into sense focusing on young women, young girls, with the capacity training for them in terms of research to development in a basic knowledge for them to understand, not into the detail in depth. Because for myself, I took agriculture in high school, went into university. I never saw myself doing aquatic or marine in my profession of work. And because of the nomination and the capabilities and all the things associated with our work, we have to engage further from what we had studied. And this is something that is a limiting of the knowledge and that is shared within the school curriculum in schools that they are not exposed to. That's one of the factors that could actually lessen the involvement of young women into to further their studies. Only those who are interested in science will be less women, less young girls who are interested in science. And when they further their studies, they engage in other areas of work. But if we could commit into young development stage with training and career training, career information, and career practical scenarios, especially in the University of the South Pacific or University of Fiji or on FNU, through that capacity foundation training that could actually give them a broader picture of what we are actually what we're actually discussing now. Because if we are actually mentioning the current issues when we are already at work, we're already on the field of work, but we are not what we are forgetting is the actual at the ground level where they are actually building up in their education and before they further their studies and before they work, before they continue into the work in the career path. I mean, maybe I'm too vague in my explanation, but I hope you get what I'm trying to explain it's just about career development at a younger stage before further going up to our later stage when you're in the career, when you're actually on the workforce. Thank you.
Thank you, Olivia. I got your message. Okay. Dr. Mishra, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Olivia. I absolutely agree with that. And that's a very important point. And I would like to actually mention that this at the launch of this Women in Deep Sea Research project, we have had a high-level webinar, and where we had participants coming from, we had government official representatives from small island developing states and least developing countries and landlocked developing countries. And one of the key messages that had actually come out from the representative of small island developing state was exactly what you're saying, is basically the lack of intervention at an early education, like at the primary education stage, because we already don't have enough obvious role models, that can inspire young people, and to not have the options at the primary education level can be a limitation, which might be shared also among other small island states. And that is definitely something that is very crucial. And I absolutely agree with the fact that it is much easier to address an issue before it solidifies later than, and that means that an early intervention is a good idea. So I would definitely encourage that to be reflected in the action plan. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Dear participants, anyone who wishes to take the floor? It seems like everyone is busy in taking a notes. Okay, I see none. So if there's no one who wish to take the floor, I'd like to ask, oh, Hilda again. Thank you very much, Hilda. Please.
Thank you. Sorry to take up your time again. It's in regards to the action plan. So with all this, let's say, not the intervention, but these ideas that we will put in the action plan. For example, is this the early intervention? The implementation of the action plan, who is supposed to do it? We are supposed to do it, the participants. Oh, sorry, I just need, because I'm thinking, you know, this is a very good point, because I had it in one as a challenge in our country report, and it's involving this into our grassroots levels, into the primary schools. So I'm just wanting to know in the implementation plan, who and when, or maybe I'm overreacting, maybe I'm probably just thinking out loud, but this is something something that we could focus on. It's a very important component of this.
So, Dr. Mo, you're on mute. So regarding the action plan, I would kindly pass on the question to Dr. Mo, if that's okay.
Okay. Thank you. Well, that's a great question, Hilda. And okay, I think who would take the action? I think basically the action plan, the who would take action is the participants. But I think this is something you can think about, and then you can also suggest ideas. As I mentioned in the key elements of the action plan, it says like who you should talk, who are the stakeholders, and who should collaborate with. I think these are the area you should take consideration. So thank you very much for your a great question, and I think this can be also addressed and discussed again in your breakout session. Now let me just finish this session, and then I really appreciate Dr. Mishra for your presence and your presentation. Thank you so much. And then we'll have a tea break from now to 2:40. So it's going to be like a 13-minute tea breaks, and we'll meet at 2:40 again. Thank you. Enjoy your tea break.
Thank you.
Did you know 80% of all life on Earth is in the ocean? But we only know 1% of them. For greater knowledge leads to better conservation, and deeper research leads to sustainable uses of resources. National Marine Biodiversity Institute of Korea is seeking knowledge of the remaining 99%. There has been global efforts for conservation and sustainable use of the marine biodiversity. To join the cooperative effort, the National Marine Biodiversity Institute of Korea was founded in 2015. Through marine bioresources surveys, conservation, management, utilization, and promotion of public awareness, MABIC is striving toward conservation and sustainable use of marine bioresources in pursuit of common good or public good. MABIC is seeking value for Korea in the ocean. As a first step, the territorial waters are researched to locate marine habitats. Once a habitat is found, bioresources with potential as strategic resources are secured, and their information is shared with researchers and the general public via the Marine Bioresources Information System, or MBRIS. MABIC has collected approximately 7,000 species of marine life so far and is storing their specimen in its storage as a means to enhance the efficiency of its marine bioresources research. The MABIC explores ecological characteristics of vulnerable and endangered species and monitors changes in marine ecosystems regularly as a way to ascertain sustainability. Furthermore, MABIC makes efforts to discover alternatives to the resources imported by the bio-industry to domestically source the materials. MABIC also maintains close partnerships with relevant institutions through information exchange and joint surveys and research. Marine bioresources have high utility and are integral to the industry, and their potential value can be realized to the fullest. Genes involved in hemostasis and ovulation were discovered in the long-arm octopus, and genes concerned in tissue regeneration and respiration were found in Periophthalmus modestus. Marine genetic resources are being secured as such through marine bioresearch. MABIC systematically searches strategic resources with high potential for commercialization and performs genome analysis to discover candidate materials for healthcare, regenerative medicine, and other areas. A genetic modification detection kit has been developed to prevent the introduction of genetically modified Atlantic salmon and ornamental fish into Korea's territorial waters. MABIC is paving the foundation for the marine bioresources information to be utilized with efficiency. Relevant information that has been delegated to universities and research institutions has been integrated into the MBRIS to provide one-stop search services, and approximately 10,000 pieces of data are being provided for research and commercialization purposes. The Marine Biobank has been set up to distribute DNAs and tissues of marine organisms and genetic information to researchers in the industrial, academic, and research sectors to further promote the quality of marine bioresources research. Seacurium, a marine life museum, is being operated under MABIC with the aim of raising public awareness of marine life. Upon entering Seacurium, visitors are welcomed by the Tower of Life, which is the symbol of MABIC. The museum provides a chance for visitors to explore the world of marine life and learn about it easily and joyfully. There are diverse marine life specimens on display on the 4th floor, while a massive whale skeleton catches everyone's eye on the 3rd floor. You can explore the ocean in the Ocean Theater on the 2nd floor, and even at the Special Exhibition Hall and the Sea Snake Research Lab on the 1st floor. There are also a wide range of education programs for all age groups to boost their understanding of marine life. Furthermore, MABIC plans to establish a Marine Ecology Learning Center and offer even more outdoor experimental learning activities. Like the ocean that connects all 6 continents of the world, MABIC has formed a network with institutions worldwide under the common goal of further advancing the research on marine bioresources. MABIC, in compliance with the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea, Convention on Biological Diversity, Nagoya Protocol, and more, is collaborating over marine bioresources. And as the leading institution for researching overseas marine bioresources, MABIC has been forming partnerships globally, starting with the opening of a joint research center with Vietnam in 2017. MABIC will continue to engage in research and international cooperation to strengthen Korea's sovereignty over marine bioresources. 80% of all life on Earth is in the ocean. We only know 1% of them. To the other 99%, beyond the 1% we know, National Marine Biodiversity Institute of Korea will continue to research. Did you know? 80% of all life on Earth is in the ocean. But we only know 1% of them. For greater knowledge leads to better conservation, and deeper research leads to sustainable uses of resources. National Marine Biodiversity Institute of Korea is seeking knowledge of the remaining 99%. There has been global efforts for conservation and sustainable use of the marine biodiversity. To join the cooperative effort, the National Marine Biodiversity Institute of Korea was founded in 2015. Through marine bioresources surveys, conservation, management, utilization, and promotion of public awareness, MABIC is striving toward conservation and sustainable use of marine bioresources in pursuit of common good or public good. MABIC is seeking value for Korea in the ocean. As a first step, the territorial waters are researched to locate marine habitats. Once a habitat is found, bioresources with potential as strategic resources are secured. And their information is shared with researchers and the general public via the Marine Bioresources Information System, or MBRIS. MABIC has collected approximately 7,000 species of marine life so far, and is storing their specimen in its storage as a means to enhance the efficiency of its marine bioresources research. The MABIC explores ecological characteristics of vulnerable and endangered species and monitors changes in marine ecosystems regularly as a way to ascertain sustainability. Furthermore, MABIC makes efforts to discover alternatives to the resources imported by the bio industry to domestically source the materials. MABIC also maintains close partnerships with relevant institutions through information exchange and joint surveys and research. Marine bioresources have high utility and are integral to the industry, and their potential value can be realized to the fullest. Genes involved in hemostasis and ovulation were discovered in the long-arm octopus, and genes concerned in tissue regeneration and respiration were found in Periophthalmus modestus. Marine genetic resources are being secured as such through marine bioresearch. MABIC systematically searches strategic resources with high potential for commercialization and performs genome analysis to discover candidate materials for healthcare, regenerative medicine, and other areas. A genetic modification detection kit has been developed to prevent the introduction of genetically modified Atlantic salmon and ornamental fish into Korea's territorial waters. MABIC is paving the foundation for the marine bioresources information to be utilized with efficiency. Relevant information that has been delegated to universities and research institutions has been integrated into the MBRIS to provide one-stop search services, and approximately 10,000 pieces of data are being provided for research and commercialization purposes. The Marine Biobank has been set up to distribute DNAs and tissues of marine organisms and genetic information to researchers in the industrial, academic, and research sectors to further promote the quality of marine bioresources research. Seacurium, a marine life museum, is being operated under MABIC with the aim of raising public awareness of marine life. Upon entering Seacurium, visitors are welcomed by the Tower of Life, which is the symbol of MABIC. The museum provides a chance for visitors to explore the world of marine life and learn about it easily and joyfully. There are diverse marine life specimens on display on the 4th floor. While a massive whale skeleton catches everyone's eye on the 3rd floor. You can explore the ocean in the Ocean Theater on the 2nd floor, and even at the Special Exhibition Hall and the Sea Snake Research Lab on the 1st floor. There are also a wide range of education programs for all age groups to boost their understanding of marine life. Furthermore, MABIC plans to establish a marine ecology learning center and offer even more outdoor experimental learning activities. Like the ocean that connects all 6 continents of the world, MABIC has formed a network with institutions worldwide under the common goal of further advancing the research on marine bioresources. MABIC, in compliance with the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea, Convention on Biological Diversity, Nagoya Protocol, and more, is collaborating over marine bioresources. And as the leading institution for researching overseas marine bioresources, MABIC has been forming partnerships globally, starting with the opening of a joint research center with Vietnam in 2017. MABIC will continue to engage in research and international cooperation to strengthen Korea's sovereignty over marine bioresources. 80% of all life on Earth is in the ocean. We only know 1% of them. To the other 99%, beyond the 1% we know, National Marine Biodiversity Institute of Korea will continue to research.
Can I start the session, or do you need just a few moments? I think there are a few participants walking along, but I will start by giving you some announcement. First, about the country report presentation. We'll finish the rest of the country presentation. I think start by Ms. Kuleta Narieta, and then we'll start by the group. And also, I'd like to give you the information that you can start email us to which group you want to go into. The reason we ask you to email us after lectures are, I think it would be better for you decide which group you want to belong to after listening all the subjects. So that was my intention behind. And if you email us by 2 o'clock, and we'll collect all the information, and then we'll let you know on chat box or email by this evening. So you can be ready to join the breakout session tomorrow. Okay. If this is clear, I'd like to give the floor Ms. Kuleta Narieta. Is she ready? Once you are ready, please take the floor. Thank you. I see Ms. Ratu. Hello.
Hello, sir.
Hi. You may start
Yes.
when you are ready.
We're sharing our screen now.
Okay.
Actually, it's myself and Miss Komal Devi in the same group, sir.
Taking time to, okay, set.
Set unmuted.
So shall we start now?
Please.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. We are the last group to present on our country report. And we would like to thank Mr. Young for giving us this opportunity to present our 10 minutes short presentation on Global Women's Leadership Training Program in Marine Bioresources Information System in Fiji. So very briefly, sir, our presentation outline provides an assessment of the marine bioresources information in Fiji, the sampling, biological sampling and preservation, taxonomy, managing the biological information status and challenges. And the chapter 2 is about the assessment of women's leadership in marine scientific research area, which in detail is been done in our country report. The overview of the marine bioresources, as many presenters have mentioned during this training, that Fiji has abundance of marine resources, and these are just some pictures to visualize what type of resources we have, and what are some of the families we got, and how we are going to manage it, and the difficulties that we are facing currently will be discussed. The biological sampling and preservation status and challenges. Well, just to advise the team and the team from Korea as well, that most of these biological sampling and preservations, we hire consultants to do it. It's hardly been done in-house in the country itself by the locals. We always get people from overseas to do it for us. And there are many publications that we have found on Ministry of Fisheries websites and on the internet, on handbooks that been published on Fiji's marine biological database. And also the detailed data is present on the Ministry of Fisheries website. The challenges that we face, as much as we have heard about that the job opportunities in this field is less in Fiji, but also the education system in Fiji on marine science is very stringent as well, as not all universities they offer marine science, or not in detail. They don't offer much of research projects because it's very difficult to locate for their supervisors, or their, for example, people in that field who can supervise their postgrad or their PhD programs locally in Fiji. So that's why not much the students are interested in, or they're not given the opportunities to do further studies in marine science or marine biology. Also, the challenge is that Fiji needs to hire consultants to carry out the marine studies. It's never done, or it's hardly been done. Like when we have trained people coming from overseas, then the locals, they join up in their teams and assist, but they do not lead the team. Also, not all marine resources are preserved in Fiji. This is due to technology and knowledge. Well, what we have gathered from Ms. Luciana's presentation is that there's a lot of technological advancement that we have seen, which we have never seen before. Fiji has, I think, none of those kind of technologies that we have seen. So we are far back in this technological advancement of biological samplings and preservations, and also pollution. The challenges here is that there are many, almost all the wastewater treatment plants in Fiji, they are discharging into the seas, in the receiving waters. So pollution is also one of the issues or the challenges that we are facing in our country. The taxonomy status and challenges. Well, again, there's a detail of information of everything is on this. We have seen making reference to WWF Fiji program that has done the study in 2013 on marine plants and marine vertebrates and marine invertebrates. Those information are available on that website and that in the handbook. But the challenges that we are more focused on is the informal settlements discharging raw sewers into the sea. If you are not, are you able to hear me? Okay. What we have seen is that there's a lot of informal settlements in Fiji, and they are all living near the coastal line areas, and they discharge their septic waste into the sea. So that also affects the marine life and puts more pressure onto the marine biological system. Also, overfishing from subsistence to cash economy. Economic activities like mining, agriculture, tourism, and other associated developments and coral harvesting, these are all affecting our ecosystem of marine. Yes, and also the unsustainable and destructive fishing practices. So there is, like what we have seen, this lack of knowledge in terms of education and community-based awareness and management in terms of like there are policies, but enforcement is very minimal. And that's why the most and the influential part of the challenge is the environmental and the ecological threats, which is climate change, which it's beyond our control, but land-based pollution and sea-based pollutions. So we have like partners from other departments here who can also, give more examples of what are the pollution factors that we are facing in terms of our species getting endangered. And these are, the next slide is showing some of the effects of the struggle that our marine system is having. This is an example of the untreated waste that is going directly into the sea. The next chapter on assessment of women leadership will be explained by Sanita Ratu.
Okay. Hello, can you hear me? Am I? Okay, I'll continue from here. But before we continue, I'll just share a bit of information of the managing of biological information. As you all know that we are from the Water Authority of Fiji, so most of the information that we have here is actually from the internet, and some of the websites that are available, like SPC, WWF, and also from the Ministry of Fisheries. So yeah, that's where we got our information from. So, and we have a bit of difficulty in trying to determine where the data came from, how they are stored, and how they are shared. So that is one of the major challenge that we have, is the lack of information available for locals, even for local information. So some of the data that are collected are not published, and I don't know for what reasons, but yeah, there are research done, but they are not published. So going on to the assessment of women's leadership in marine scientific research in Fiji, overall, there are less marine research conducted. And the second one, in Fiji, a range of factors influence how women and men engage in fisheries and aquaculture. And in the conservation and management of their environments, gender roles differ in rural and urban areas and among the Itauke and Fijian. So it is very important that we also consider the ethnicity, basically because we have different ways, we have different ways how to live our lives. Like for Itaukes, they depend on the marine resources, and for our Indo-Fijians, they don't really, but you know, so we need to have a better understanding of how a different ethnicity use up the marine resources. Gender roles may also vary based on age and education. For example, women and men with access to tertiary education may enroll in marine science, law, or business. The discipline they choose will influence what issues they address, what they advocate for, and what research for improved fisheries practices they initiate when they return to or visit their home communities. For this part, most of us we all come from a village in Fiji. So without the facility, without the equipments, we are not even able to go back to our communities and determine, or go back to our villages to determine the type of marine resources that we have within our Ngolingoli and maybe further the Ngolingoli. So that's one of the things. Most of us, like I said, represent a village, represent a community, but with these setbacks, we are not even able, or we are not even, we don't have that passion to go back and assess our own community and the resources that we have in our community. And the mindset of communities about women's leadership in marine scientific research. I was reading through the internet, there was one conference that was held, and one of the lady from Bua was part of that conference. So looking at the Bua is Yasana in Fijian, that's like, and one of the district, she represented one of the district, And imagine in one district, there's 9 districts in Bua and 54 villages in Bua. So she is just representing a district with maybe 5 to 10 villages. So looking at the number of women representatives from each of the community is quite less. So it is also important that we map out the numbers of women, map out how many women are being represented from each of the communities. So at least when we set up something, a research that is done, we can get these women back, and they, in one way, they will give back to their community as they know the community, and also it will encourage other women from their own community to take the same path. So yes, that is, and also one of the things that most of the workshop, we are here, the women are here, we are lucky to have the tea served and everything served. But in some of the workshops that are being held, women told to serve tea. They are never part of the conversation. They are never part of the decision making, and they are never part of any plan, like action plan. So they are always being said to set up teas or anything of that sort when there is a fellowship or anything that's happening in the community. A lack of opportunities in Fiji for marine scientific researchers, as alluded by my colleague, the opportunities and also the other members of this fellowship. We have some background in marine biology or marine science, but then we don't have the opportunities like myself and Komal. We are working with the Water Authority. We have Bachelor in Applied Science, but we are doing liquid trade waste. So we are more focused on the type of waste that being discharged by industries. And so we are just applying part of our knowledge, a part of what we learn from school. So yes, that is one of the things, the challenges that we face. Security for women to conduct fieldwork, especially out in remote areas. This is a male-dominated area, and going out into the sea, I know it's quite unsafe. So the security, so these are some of the challenges. We see that we are not properly protected. We are not provided with the facility that we need if we are out there doing our field work. That's from my perspective, my personal views, but I'm sure the fishery, the ladies who are here from the fisheries, they feel safe because they continue to be in that field. And gender discrimination. So people, even when during recruitment, when we are applying, we ladies are seen, like as discussed by, what's the lady's name? The last presentation, sorry, I forgot the name. One of the challenges that we face, like women, maternity leaves. So, you know, when we come into a research environment, we need to be there, and there will be time that you know, we need to go out, but then going on a maternity leave will further delay or will further require recruitment of assistants as such, and that is one of the things that does not allow women to get you know, to be recruited into a male dominated or a research organization. And I think that's it. And our last slide is our expectation from this program.
Yeah, just to elaborate on what we are here for, our expectations are. This is yeah? Can you hear me?
No.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we want to work in collaboration with other ministries to form policies and strengthen our existing policies for protection of marine bioresources. And also, we're looking forward for funding and exposure of women to become more local researchers in bioresources in Fiji. So that brings the end of our presentation. I hope we are in 10 minutes duration. Thank you.
Thank you very much. No, you are beyond 10 minutes, but I couldn't stop it because it was just too much passion and, you know, too much inspiration, so I couldn't stop it. And it seems like we already have leader here, yeah, with a full power and full inspiration. Okay, but this is not the end of the presentation of the
No, you
country
have to
report.
increase the volume.
Okay, do you want to say something, Miss Koma Devi?
No, we were not able to hear you.
Oh,
I mean,
can
I
you
was
hear
not
me
able.
now?
Yes, yes.
Okay,
Now,
okay.
yes.
What I just said was like I couldn't stop the presentation even though it was beyond 10 minutes because it was full of passion, and so I couldn't stop it. And I really appreciate your presentation. I'm really touched and moved. And next is Ms. Raksha Rani and Christelle Suliano. You may begin once you are ready. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. First of all, I would like to apologize to you, sir, and the team that we don't have a presentation actually. And I had the report with me, but unfortunately my laptop died as well. So I'll just be reading out from my report. And I'll try to be as short as possible actually. And just start off with the main points that we had highlighted in our report. So starting off with national legislations, I think this is quite in line and complements the questions that was issues that was raised by Ms. Komal regarding environmental issues and the fishes dying in the presentation that she had shown us. So sorry, and I am from both myself and Crystal, we are both from the Ministry of Environment. So under our national legislations, the Ministry of Environment aligns itself to the Section 40 of Constitution. It states that every person has the right to a clean and healthy environment, and this includes the right to have natural world protected for the benefit of present and future generations through legislative and other measures. And in such, the Ministry of Environment administers the Environment Management Act, which we call as EMA 2005, and as well as the Endangered and Protected Species Act 2002. Both of these have relevance to the protection and management of Fiji's endangered marine species, something in line with our workshop. So the EMA is for the protection of natural resources and for the control and management of developments, waste management and pollution control for the establishment of National Environment Council and related matters. So for example, for any developments, in Fiji, the Environment Management Act applies there, and this also requires an environmental impact assessment, which has to be done before the initiation of development. And this has to go through the Ministry of Environment. And we have the Endangered and Protected Species Act, which actually regulates and controls the international trade, domestic trade, possession and transportation of species that are protected under the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora, and which we call CITES, and other related matters. And this includes the marine species as well. So apart from that, I believe Ministry of Fisheries has other legislations which we have mentioned in our report, but I will not go over them. Some of them was presented in the first day of presentations by other participants. I'd like to jump into the threatened marine species because our EPS Act covers these endangered species. So the marine species of Fiji are actually severely under threat. And some of the marine species that are vulnerable and severely threatened are listed under the IUCN Red List and have been also mentioned in our Fiji's National Biodiversity Strategic and Action Plan 2020 to 2025, which is this, we call this the NBSAP, which is available online as well. So under the EPS Act, we have so the EPS Act actually covers the CITES, which is the Convention on the International Trade in Endangered Species, as well as our local indigenous species, which are listed under Schedules 1 and 2. So Schedule 1 lists all the species that is indigenous to Fiji, but not listed in Appendix 1 of the CITES, but are believed to be threatened with extinction, while Schedule 2 lists all the species indigenous to Fiji and not listed in Appendix 1, 2, and 3 of CITES or the Schedule 1 of EPS Act. So with that, I'll go on to our main component, which is the chapter 1 and chapter 2. So chapter 1, marine assessment of the marine bioresources information in Fiji, and this is where we how we come in the picture. So for any biological sampling and its preservation for marine resources that are actually endangered and protected under this CITES and EPS Act, which I have mentioned, actually requires a permit. And this permit needs to be obtained from the Ministry of Environment. So for example, if someone is trying to do a research on green turtle or hawksbill turtle, they actually have to acquire a permit from Ministry of Environment first before they can do that research. So this actually applies to both local and international research. However, some of the stages and challenges that we have is that there might be cases, especially at local level, where the researchers do not actually, maybe they are not aware of it, or they do not declare or obtain these relevant approvals and permits. So for example, while doing their studies at universities, they have certain topics within these marine species, and they just do it within the university studies without actually acquiring a permit. And another one is where probably the international institutes where they want to have a research done in Fiji, and though they are not traveling, they might do a collaboration with local universities and the students as their researchers. And again, they might circumvent this permit process and carry on with the research without a permit. So these local, we believe and we hope that the local institutes, that they need to be made aware of this process, and for this process of obtaining permits for these endangered and protected species to be included in the research requirements or SOPs. And we also believe that this could also create a system for data on marine resources and research. For example, if we have those information with us, then it would make it easier to know which researches are being carried out in Fiji on these marine species. Moving on to taxonomy, the Ministry of Environment works in close collaboration with the Ministry of Fisheries and other relevant stakeholders for the expertise and advice on the classification of marine species. Currently, the ministry does not have any expert in marine species within our ministry, so we refer to these line ministries and agencies. And this includes an acquiring of information and advice on the endangered marine species and those that might be under threat in future as well. So we heavily rely on this information, and as well as for the non-detrimental findings, which is a requirement under the CITES. So we really rely on our partners for the information on marine species regarding this. So therefore, the challenges and that we face is the need for experts in this marine area and within our ministry as well, so that we can seek advice and recommendation from these experts and have strengthened collaboration with other line agencies as well. We also need experts and as well as technology for taxonomy. I guess this is what we discussed yesterday as well. Fiji does not have these resources or laboratory for taxonomy within our country. So we really appreciate this capacity building exercise as a initiation for further development towards building something in Fiji as well. And something also probably we did not discuss in depth is the issue of invasive alien species, which is an issue that we face, and probably we would like to have further research and development in this area as well. And moving on to managing biological information. We don't have any biological information data with us, and we only have the data regarding the permits that come through us, application for permits regarding any research related to the endangered and protected species that I have mentioned. that is in our X. And so we really need to have a strengthened collaboration between other line ministries and organizations for a centralized data collection and sharing, as well as a need for a standalone access and benefit sharing policy that will promote and safeguard the marine bioresources while enabling research and management of biological information that will benefit Fiji as a whole. So that's from chapter 1. Moving on to chapter 2, we've briefly summarized this, and I just wanted to share earlier this year that I attended a workshop which was organized by Ministry of Fisheries on the development of Women in Fisheries Baseline Initiative Data and Engagement Strategy. And in the opening remarks, they had highlighted that, and this is something we have discussed as well as Ms. Mishra shared with us in her presentation, is that while women are major contributors towards coastal fisheries worldwide, there is a very limited understanding on their roles, and women play a big role in fisheries in terms of food security, nutrition, and income. However, their work is understated and not recognized and valued in most cases. So we really recommend as challenges and recommendations for women in academic sector for the need to utilize their expertise, skills, and knowledge. And we once again would like to highlight and thank for this workshop, which is working towards this recognition. The data and research evidence play a very important role. And for example, women being consulted in fisheries sector issues of deep sea mining and impacts, just from the presentation of Ms. Mishra again. So we also strongly believe that women play a very big role in this, and it would be very good for consultation and having women as playing a role in this decision making. As well as need for research studies on the changing role of women, and to strengthen the network and establish baseline data on these issues. So some other points that we wanted to highlight, we have highlighted in our report, are the different gender roles in rural and urban areas actually. So in different, I think this is also what Sanita has also already mentioned, in different ethnicities and among the Itoki people, the age and the degree of education. And women are mostly engaged in fisheries section for subsistence and financial commitments. And there is also a need to consider the amount of time put in for reproductive and caregiving at home at the communities, which will also affect the available time in the fisheries sector. So these are some points that we have already discussed today as well. And we also thought that they are really important issues. And lastly, in our recommendation and concluding our report, and this is also, again, sorry, something that we have discussed, is while we need to create and strengthen awareness and role of women and leadership in marine scientific research, we believe that one crucial link for our way forward is creating awareness and promoting the role of females from a young age, actually. So this means that we need to actually target and initiate or strengthen the curriculum in schools as well, which will promote and motivate girls, females, to aspire to be future leaders in marine field and scientific research, something which we discussed, that there is a gap. And also we added that probably it would be also good for the male to actually encourage and value the contribution of women in the marine sector and research, something that when we include in the curriculum, they will also know that women are equal and can be taking part in all these leadership roles and sectors as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Rani. If there is no question from the floor, I'd like to just ask one quick question to Ms. Rani. How would you define female leadership? When you're referring to the female leadership or woman leadership, what do you have in your mind? If you have one, please share with us. Thank you.
For me, I believe being a female leader, you need to have that confidence, as well as you believe in what is right, and you believe in yourself, as well as when you are standing there, you believe that you are standing for and representing the other women. So keeping the other women and the society, so we make decisions that are for the benefit of them. And I believe women, as we have already discussed, while we are leaders, we are also mothers. So we also run the home. We think of the food for the children. We think of how they are going to get their homework done. So multitasking and trying to get to lead a team, as well as your children, to mentor your children at home. So I believe women leadership is an all-rounder, and we need the support of the others, and women need to encourage each other as well, and understand that we come from different situations, as we mentioned, like Dr. Mishra mentioned. Single women, we see more single women in the data that they showed that pursue their studies, while married or mothers are not able to pursue their career. So as being a women leader, I guess you really have to be strong, and we need that balance in our life where we're able to pursue our dreams, as well as be able to look after our families. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Answer your question, sir.
Oh, sure, more than I needed. Thank you very much, Ms. Rani. Now we are we have Miss Alice and Marietta for the last presentation, as far as I know. Please take the floor as soon as you are ready. Thank you.
Okay, share screen. Venki, can you hear me?
Clear and loud. Thank you.
Okay, everyone will be just presenting on base from. How come he's hearing me? Can you hear me? We can hear you. Oh, yeah, okay. Okay, sir, for that, we'll just presenting based on our country report that we have submitted. The outline of our presentation is an introduction, and we'll just background, and we answer of our chapter 1 and chapter 2 questions. Not taking much of our time, we'll just go straight to our chapter 1 and chapter 2 of our country report, since our country background and the ministry introduction has been well introduced by our ladies that have previous group that has been presented. So now I'll ask Ms. Alice to take us through on our chapter 1 of our country report.
Buonasera, everyone. Chapter 1 of our presentation, the assessment of the marine bioresources information Fiji. Part 1 of the assessment is Part 1 is the biological sampling and preservation, status and challenges. Status, point 1, coastal and marine areas of Fiji contains a rich biological diversity which supports food security and economic development. This has resulted in depleting fish stocks, loss of habitat, biodiversity, degradation of coastal zone and marine species, including mangrove system and coral reefs. Second point, government has sought to address existing legislative shortcomings in the management of marine resources fisheries act, Cap 158, currently being reviewed and updated in Fiji's law in line with the international regional obligation. But point 3, offshore tuna fisheries dominate the fisheries sector in output and values. And our challenges, the impact of increasing human activities influenced by urbanization, globalization, market system has increased pressure placed on these marine resources. Second point is the lack of qualified personnel and funding limits the extent of quality scientific research in Fiji. Our third point is Fiji is also being exposed to new technology that can support development, and this requires expertise and the use of this technology. Second part to the assessment 1 is about taxonomy, the status and challenges. Time-tested indigenous fishing knowledge of Fiji and the Pacific Island is seriously threatened due to the commercialization of fishing, breakdown of traditional communal leadership and oral knowledge transmission system, modern education, and the movement of the younger generation to urban areas for work, study. Consequently, indigenous fishing knowledge, which has been orally transmitted for generations, has either been lost, not learned. This study focuses on the critical needs to conserve and include the indigenous fishing knowledge as a basis for assessing the conservation status for ecological and cultural keystone fishery species as a basis for planning site-specific management of marine and freshwater fisheries in Fiji and the Pacific Island. That point is the study also reviews the nature and conservation status of indigenous fishing knowledge itself and the conservation status of species considered to be of particular ecological and cultural importance, reason for the loss of species and associated knowledge and practices and action that can be taken to address this knowledge. Challenges is the expertise not held within the ministry, and the USP and SPC experts are often sought for advanced level taxonomy. And moving on to the third part of assessment 1. Is managing biological information, the status and challenges. In Fiji, the tourism industry has been recognized as responsible for mangrove clearance and coastal degradation, both of which aggravate problems such as coastal erosion, vulnerability to natural resources, fish stock decline, poor water quality, pollution, and biodiversity loss. Though the country has national legislation in place, as well as regional and international collaboration to manage its ocean resources, it lacks the capacity and resources to implement environmental policy planning and regulation. This can also be a challenge. There is a need to strengthen governance and community capacity to address problems of effective enforcement of legislation and ensure the conservation, management, and sustainable utilization of marine and coastal resources. Third point, Fiji's marine environment contains globally and regionally significant biodiversity that needs to be protected for its intrinsic value, and the central role it plays in sustaining the livelihood of the people of Fiji. Point 4, current knowledge of Fiji's marine ecosystem and biodiversity is poor. Therefore, it is essential to consolidate and expand this knowledge if conservation and sustainable resources management of the marine environment is to be effective. Information gaps needs to be filled and opportunities for collaboration identified to ensure that conservation efforts and consideration for further research and monitoring are an integral part of future marine conservation and resource management planning. Now I'll ask Lambert to elaborate on the assessments 2 of our presentation.
Next. Chapter 2 is on the status of human leadership in marine scientific research. This is mostly held within the academia, with the human scientists and researchers being employed within academia. Government support is provided as and when is needed. Academically, government officials have built their capacities over the years with the support of countries such as Korea, but the sustainability of this program is what requires attention. Challenges in enabling women's leadership in marine scientific research, priorities areas to be specified and aligned to national imperatives, lack of somewhat thereof interest in marine scientific research as it is seen as too technical, time-consuming, recognition weighing marine scientific research work against a salary job, and the traditional recognition of the two in cultural contexts. Our expectation is considering that we are from the Northern Division, the island of Honolulu, the expectation around information sharing, experiences, and knowledge sharing, and improvement of accessibility to resources and information of level platforms. Vinaka.
Dr. Mo, they are done with their presentation.
Thank you. Thank you very much, all the presentations. Finally, we finished the country report, and I truly congratulations all everyone. I understand it was not an easy work, and then it has been very difficult, and then you must have a lot of long sleepless night to prepare this one. And I thank you very much. And then the country report will be a very fundamental base for our future action plan. Okay, now I'd like to, as I mentioned, it's time for assigning the groups. But since as I announced, you can email us with your first preference and second preference, and then we will let you know by today, this evening. So please email us by 5 o'clock today, but I encourage you to use this time. You have 15-25 minutes left, so I'd like to encourage you to decide which group you want to go and during this time, and then email us, and I will stop here, and then I'll let you to decide where which group you want to belong to, and then the session will be end here. And then I'd like to thank you again and for participating, and then especially for the fruitful and passionate discussion today. Thank you, and I'll see you tomorrow at the same time. And then the breakout group will be ready, so you can go to the join the breakout group tomorrow. If you have any question, please take the floor. Okay, so far I see none. So have a great day, and then I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.
Thank you, Dr. Moore. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Dr.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Have a good night
gone.
or good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
He's gone. Is he still? The group preference is based on those 3 categories.
Yes, right. And you choose 2 with the first preference and second preference.
So
Oh, Miss
yeah.
Singh, please.
Yes, Dr. Yang. We have one question. In your slide, it's mentioned we do one action plan and 5 to 10 pages of report. So that's different from action plan?
No, that's action plan. That's
okay,
writing, and then we also ask for the slides.
Okay, so one report on the action plan and one presentation on the action plan.
That's correct, Ms. Singh.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, Hilda? Hilda, please take the floor. Miss Hilda?
I was on mute. Dr. Moore?
It's kind of breaking out.
So there is 3 different action plan depending on the.
Okay.
Yeah, can hear you.
Not really, Miss Hilda. Could you use the chat box, please, if you may?
Okay.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Hilda, there will be 3 parts of action plans: sampling, taxonomy, and biological information. But the gender equity should be touched on each action plan. Am I clear? Thank you. So each group will write only one issue, which is given to that group. And then we will combine all 3 action plans and then make into one single, whole action plan.
연구원님.
네?
더 질문은 없는 것 같고요. 자기들끼리 이제 본인들끼리 지금 하고 있으십니다.
알겠습니다. 감사합니다.
네, 알겠습니다. 네, 감사합니다. 수고하셨습니다.
네.